Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying video. What you see in the vise is a little change of pace for me. I've been tying a lot of big lures and grayling bugs as it is for the time of year. But I thought I'd change it up a little and tie this little midge pattern. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H130 barbless hook. This one's at size 12, it's on a fine wire and it's in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Semperfli. It's the Nano silk at 20D, and as you can see it's a black thread. Now as always with the Nano silks, I'm going to get a very small spot of super glue onto the shank of the hook. This just helps with body rotation. I'm just going to use the thread to spread that up and down the shank. Then I can come in behind the eye and get a small bed of thread down onto the shank. And that's looking pretty good. I've just stopped approximately where a barb would be on a hook. Now, I've been tying a lot of lures and bugs of late because I fish right throughout the winter, but I just thought I'd change it up a bit and do this little dry fly for you. So I'm going to tie in a shuck, and what I'm using is just a few fibres from the ultra dry yarn, and just off camera I'm snipping away a tiny little bit of this to add to the fly. Now I don't know if you can see, but even that's too much, so I'm just going to ease it out. I only want a few fibres, just a suggestion of a shuck. So I'm just going to dress that up to the hook now and lash it into place. Yeah, there's not a great deal of dry fly sport going on at the moment, but there is the very odd occasion when the day heats up around midday, you can sometimes just pick up a couple of fish coming to the surface taking hatching insects. So that's my shuck in place. Next thing I want to do is get my wing in place. So I'm going to come all the way back up, and as I come I want to try and capture in any of them fibres just to keep it a little bit neater. Now I'm going to stop approximately 2 to 3 millimeters back from the eye. All I'm using CDC wise is a bag that was sent to me by a shooting friend, and although it is a bit of a pain in the arse sifting through the feathers to get the best ones, I've stacked 4 or 5 of them together here now. The number of CDC plumes will depend a lot on the size of the hook. 12's quite big, so I'm using between 5 and 6 plumes. And what I'm going to do is just catch that in with my Nano silk. Once I'm happy it's sitting on top of the shank, I'm just going to get several wraps to hold that into place. Now the next thing is I don't want to cut this off straight. I want to come in at an angle because it's going to help me with my body shape. So just take away that at a diagonal cut, and I'm going to bring my Nano silk down. Now because the Nano silk is so thin, you might want to just take a little bit of time to just get your body into shape. And I want just a nice taper leading up to the thorax area here. You don't have to use Nano silk, I just prefer it. There's a lot less breakages than using, say, an 18-aught thread. And then I can come all the way back down, just catch that last bit of white that was sticking out there. Check your side, I see a little bit, but I'm not overly worried. Now for the body then, I'm using some stripped Peacock Herl. This is the Troutline one. They're extra long and they're ideal for this type of bodying. So I'm going to catch that in just at the butt section and bring my thread all the way back up to the top. Now at this point you can bring your hackle pliers in, whichever ones you prefer to use. I like these ones, they seem to grip the Herl quite well. Sometimes I'm just tilting the vise slightly to avoid the hook point. I really don't want to catch that. And and then ever so gently, because the Herl will be quite brittle. Some people soak them actually prior to tying them on. I've never found a need to do that, but on my side I'm able to watch the turns come round, and as you get further up the body of the fly, you can then bring your vise back round to normal. It's just, if you catch the hook point with the stripped Herl, then it will snap on you. There's no two ways about it. You very, very rarely get a second chance once you've clipped that hook point with this stuff. But it does create a fantastic body for sure. So I'm coming up to where I part my thread, and I'm going to get a couple of wraps in just to hold that into place. And once I've done that, of course, as always, 2 or 3 wraps in front of the material never goes amiss. And let's see where it's finished up. I can come in with my scissors and remove my excess. I am tempted sometimes just to pull it, but that can end up in a world of hurt, so I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time. Okay, so I want to treat my body so that, because a fish's teeth will just shred through this, so I'm going to use some Solaris Bone Dry. Not much. We're not making a big heavy fly here. After all, we are expecting this to float on the surface. So just one coat, and all it is to protect that Herl. So I'll come in with my torch and just cure that off. Doesn't take long. Then to finish the fly, it's fairly straightforward. We want a small piece of dubbing, and I'm using some black pepper. This is the Mad Rabbit from Troutline. It's a really dark dubbing, and it's got little glints of flash in, which I really like for this pattern. Now you don't need much for this. Probably about 2 inches of dubbing on there. And what I'm going to do is come in behind for about 1 inch of that, and then I'm going to lift my CDC, and I've managed to pull my dubbing away there. I don't know if you've seen that. I'm going to stop, get the dubbing back onto the thread, because I want this to come in front. It's going to stand my wing up. So make sure you do get a little bit of material in front. You'll see the difference it makes in a second. So once I've got that in place, it stands up at a 45-degree angle from the hook shank. So the fly will sit in the water just nicely. So I keep messing with the Shuck. I'm just not happy with the way it's sitting. There we go, that's a little bit better. Okay, so to finish off then, save yourself the bother of going in with super glue or varnish. I put a little bit of UV resin on my thread. And then I can come in with my whip finish tool, pull everything back out the way. Plenty of turns. Oops, that's just slipped away from me there. It's very rare that Nano silk breaks like that, but it has, which has saved me a job of trimming. And then I'm just going to give it a little blast. And there you have a little dry fly. Little midge pattern, and it should serve you well. Thanks very much for watching the video. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.